Hi, everyone. Melanie Taylor here, the Director of Education at Eat, Breathe, Thrive, and I'm excited to share another interview with you. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Iris Perey, who completed her bachelor's degree in psychology, as well as her master's degree in health and social psychology at Maastricht University in the Netherlands. In 2022, she completed her PhD at the Facility of Sports and Health Science of the Technical University of Munich, Germany, where her research focuses on the effects of social comparison on eating and body-related cognitions and behaviors. Iris spent 4 months as a visiting researcher at the University of Buffalo, New York, to collaborate with Professor Dr. Cook Katone on studying and examining whether the Eat, Breathe, Thrive Yoga for Eating Disorder Recovery online course is effective in supporting eating disorder recovery. She currently works as a clinical psychologist in the University Hospital in Munich, Germany. Welcome, Iris. It's so lovely to talk to you today. We haven't had a chance to have a video connection yet, so it's lovely to get to virtually meet you.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Melanie. Thanks for introducing me. I'm happy to be here today.
Oh, that's wonderful. Was there anything that you wanted to share with our listeners that I didn't mention?
Excuse me, could you repeat that?
Yeah.
Share with.
I said, is there anything that you wanted to say or share with our listeners about you that I didn't mention?
Oh, that you didn't mention. Um, well, maybe I can share a little bit about how I came to studying psychology, I guess, and what made it interesting for me. Um, so I guess I've always been interested in why people like behave the way they do. I guess came across about certain like mental disorders when I was younger. So certain family members dealt with psychological disorders, which I guess really made me think about those kind of things and how you can help as well. So that's why I actually wanted to begin studying psychology in the first place. However, at first, I always thought I would never become a psychotherapist, that this would be, I don't know, I guess too much for me to handle, or I don't really know. But I guess in the first place, I was interested just to learn about the mind. And then after a while, I became more and more interested in the research part as well. Especially during my master's degree, I worked with a professor who does a lot of work on eating disorders, actually. And that's also when I became interested in embodiment approaches as well. So we did a research collaboration on a study about yoga and how yoga would help or could also prevent eating disorders. So that's kind of how I became interested in that topic. And it really caught my attention, and I wanted to actually study those kind of subjects more in detail. And that's why I started my PhD too.
Hmm. I really hear that there's a progression, right? Like it's almost like answering a question led to more questions, which led to more answers, which led to more questions that sort of shifted for you in your experience.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And I now like actually ended up becoming a psychotherapist, which is what I initially never thought I would want to do. But it absolutely really was a process, I guess.
Hmm. What is the favorite aspect of your work, Iris?
Um, Favorite aspect of my work. Well, I guess the favorite aspect about like the research work that I do is, and that's interesting because usually you would think that research would be a lot of like either working in the lab or like analyzing data and stuff, which obviously I also did. But my favorite part really was to connect to the people, which also led me to then go more into the clinical direction, I guess, because I realized that this is really what I appreciate. For example, for this study about this Eat, Breathe, Thrive course, I talked to, I guess, about more than 300 women suffering from eating disorders. And I think that's so enriching, I guess, to see those kind of different perspectives and also those different, um, yeah, kind of lives that people live, and what what made them come to this point. I guess that's really um, what I find very valuable in my work, actually.
Mm. Yeah, I always think about that when I think about studies and research, that it's a piece of paper describing a process, results, and information. But underneath all of that it's really a story of lives, of human beings having human experiences. I can hear that in you, being able to be witness of those individuals that you got to talk to, how that enriches the work that you do. Almost, I would say, in the days when it's difficult, in the days where it's in the lab and monotony type of work, that can be an powerful reminder of why you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, that's really not what you see when you like read a paper. You have no idea about who are the participants behind it. But I found it
Mhm.
like really, really nice to connect to people. And then obviously also afterwards, I mean, obviously you don't hear back from every single person. Also, there's obviously rules about anonymity and those data protection kind of things, obviously. But still, you do hear back from people who like took the course in this case of this research, and who are like very, very grateful and give positive feedback. Even though I have not, conducted the course myself. Um, I think it's very nice to see that your work has some kind of impact, because it does in the end contribute to that maybe this course would be available to a lot of other people. So that obviously is the second aspect, that you um, can see that at least you make like a little difference to people's lives.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I get those emails as well, and they usually land on a day when you need to hear them most as well, which I think really
Mhm.
is really lovely. But that reminder that all of the work that we're doing is about the human experience, and how beautiful that is when we look below the data, into the whys and um, really what was truly happening. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'd love to ask you a little bit about the study. And so, can you tell us a little bit about your role? And what I'll share with the audience as well is that Iris is working on one of our in progress studies, for the Yoga for Eating Disorder Recovery course. And so, if you could share a little bit about your role, and you've shared a little bit about what got you involved with it, but your role and anything else about it in particular you'd like to share.
Yeah, sure. So it's kind of an interesting development, I guess, because initially this study was planned as a study in eating disorder recovery centers. And then actually the pandemic hit, and we kind of had to adapt um, the whole process, I guess, and also the execution. So I guess my job in the study, together with Dr. Cook Cotone, is actually to first of all plan the study, to come up with a study design. So basically, you obviously have to see how you would be able to validate a program like this, right? You have to think about what would I want to know about the program, and also what does it intend to change in people, and what does it actually change then in the end. That is kind of what we want to see. So we, for example, had to think about certain constructs that we want to measure. um, um, and then also kind of find questionnaires that would appropriately measure those kind of constructs. For example, with a program like this, you obviously want to see whether eating disorder symptomatology would change over this time of the course, or also certain body image aspects. Body image appreciation, for example, would
Mhm.
that change for the better over time? And then you have to come up with a study design. So basically, in this study, we had a group of participants who um, um, like took the intervention at first, which means that they got the course, and then obviously also we had a group of people who were supposed to not get the intervention, so we could compare the two, and then they only got the intervention afterwards, after the first group finished. So this is kind of to give you an idea of what the conceptualization of a study involves. I guess it is more complicated than that, but this is kind of what I was involved in. And then also the whole execution of the study. As I said earlier, I had like a first introductory conversation with all participants to explain the whole study design to them, to let them know what their responsibility would be, what we would expect from them, for example, filling in questionnaire at different time points, what they can expect from the course, all these kind of things. And then in the meantime, also answering mails and questions that participants have about the course. So that is, I guess, the whole study execution phase. And then after that, you do collect the data while the study is executed. All of that happens online. And then you come to the exciting part, to analyzing the data, which involves having a very, very big spreadsheet with anonymously collected data then. So at this point, you do not know who sent those answers anymore.
Yeah.
And then you get to see which kind of changes happen, and that's actually the phase that we're currently in. So we have finally completed the data collection, and we're now in the process of analyzing it. And then once you have completed the analysis, you would start writing the paper and publish the findings in the end.
You mentioned this briefly, the shifting from doing a program that was initially designed to be for in-treatment centers to moving into, with the pandemic and online. Tell me a little bit, that's a unique part about the study. Do you want to tell me a little bit about why that's so important?
Yeah, that is indeed very unique, especially, I guess, because I think the pandemic really changed a lot of things in terms of like the online environment, I guess, and especially the treatment and psychotherapy environment too. Now, the special thing about this course, I guess, I think there is some research about online therapy and also different kind of programs. However, I guess what really stands out here is that we have an embodied approach, obviously, right? So you're supposed to like move your body, and this is actually a very, very unique part about this research, that you're supposed to convey this embodied approach via a non-embodied method, I guess, online. And obviously, there's not a lot of research on those kind of embodied online approaches, exactly because people would before always have those kind of programs in person, simply because they would think that wouldn't really match quite well. I think that's actually one of the first studies that does study an online embodied approach, actually.
This is exciting. And
I
I'm
know.
really looking forward to, I'm looking forward to, I know you guys are in the data analysis phase. And I think as a facilitator of that course myself and being part of this journey from my view as a facilitator, I'm very excited to hear what comes of that. And with how our world hasn't really shifted back 100%, what are the possibilities that this makes available, especially in places where treatment centers aren't necessarily accessible for many variety of reasons throughout the world. So I'm looking forward to hearing about that. Um, Iris, is there anything that I haven't asked about that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think that that very last sentence that you said brought me to one thought that I wanted to share. That obviously there's a lot of people out there who maybe don't have the financial security to afford those kind of programs or psychotherapy in general, or also they might be located in areas that they cannot reach maybe those kind of groups. For example, if you don't like live in a big city that offers all those kind of amazing possibilities. And I think this is another unique part about the study and where it really contributes a lot, because obviously you can have like those kind of treatment options in person, I guess, but then also making that available to, yeah, people who, as I've said before, do not have those options. I think was really interesting for me to see too, because that was something, um, I wouldn't say something that I haven't thought of before, but I could really tell that people who participated in this study were so grateful for being able to take part in the research and then obviously do the course as well. And that was really heartbreaking for me to see how many people there are in need who wouldn't have like the resources usually. Um, yeah, and I guess that's a very nice contribution, and I really hope that research will show that as well and make it more available to a lot of people.
I couldn't agree more. Iris, I want to thank you for your time and sharing of your story and your experience with the research and this work and the population that is so very important to us that we're serving. I'm a part of that population myself. So I want to thank you for giving your time and all the work that you've been doing to support exactly what we just talked about, making this embodied approach to recovery more accessible to anyone who could benefit from it. So thank you so very much for being with us, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Thank you, Melanie. It was lovely speaking to you.